Hashtag Saxonwold has been trending on Twitter ever since CEO of Eskom Brian Molefe's spectacular pretences have been exposed. Well, if truth be told, I must now admit that I have spent an extremely interesting 3 hours behind the high walls of the Gupta compound. But it's not what you think. So here, captured on camera, in the same state capturing domain of the Gupta compound, is my edited and somewhat adapted and updated version of what else has happened inside the Gupta compound last year.
My name is Sinegugu Zukulu, an environmentalist, community conservationist, and a community developer. My role as a conservationist is mainly to work with the people, to develop, to build the capacity of the people on the ground to look after their own land, look after the biodiversity and the ecosystems that afford them livelihood and gives them goods and services that they need for their daily lives. Actually, I would say working with the rural people is the best thing, is the biggest motivator for me for my work, because those are the people who understand exactly the importance of biodiversity. But of course, the challenge is on people who want to demolish and trash the biodiversity, the ecosystem, and the well-being of the people, like mining, for instance. Those people, they will try by all means to try and repackage your work and say to people you want to bring them wild animals like lions that would destroy their livestock, for instance. So people try to come up with dirty campaigns in order to discredit you. That's the biggest challenge that you have on the ground when you work with the people. So those who are opposed to your work because they want to trash the land, and because you work with the people to help them protect their land.
Welcome to I Am South African, a show that celebrates ordinary South Africans doing extraordinary things and, of course, making a difference in our country. I am Avashni Vandia, and tonight we're focusing our attention on Conservationist of the Year nominee for the upcoming South African of the Year Awards for 2015, and he is Sinegugu Zukulu. Would you say that holistically South Africa really does appreciate nature and conserves our environment, or not?
In South Africa, we are a new democracy with a new constitution and new amazing laws that we are yet to demonstrate that they do really. A friend of mine, John, normally say human rights belong to the people. Yes. So the work that I do is mainly about affirming and making sure that this constitution and the laws of the land, they really do what is expected of them. They are able to demonstrate that they can protect the human rights.
Of course, it's authentic and powerful stories.
Exactly.
And to achieve all of these objectives, you, of course, over the years have worked with various individuals.
Exactly.
Well, we chatted to one of your colleagues and a former colleague as well, Saxonwold and Nick King. So let's take a look and find out what they had to say about you.
My name is Saxonwold. I worked with Sinegugu for over 10 years, and I met him when I was still a tour guide at the Amadiba Adventures. He came in as a as a teacher, and he was with the school group, so I was guiding that group. So that's how I met him for the first time. I was working as a conservationist as well. And then, you know, like we met, we were not working for the same company. I was working in the tourism, but he was working as a teacher, and he was taking the school groups to our organization. And then he worked for another company, which I also happened to work for that company as well. So we worked together. Working with Sinegugu, first of all, you learn to keep time. You know, he's always on. He's very strict on time. You know, you put time with him, everything he does, he works against time. But he's very understanding. He knows he's born in this area, so he knows you can't really push. You know, when you work with communities, you have to go at their pace at times. So he understands that. So he knows, he's very familiar with the saying that you start to push the pondos, then they go even slower. So he knows that.
My name is Nick King. I've been a colleague of Sinegugu's for about 10 years, working on Sustaining the Wild Coast. It's an NGO that works with local communities down here in Pondoland. I used to run an organisation called the Endangered Wildlife Trust. Got involved in some of the controversies down here in Pondoland, and Sinegugu is a guy who's grew up here and has worked on a lot of these challenges for a long time. And so we both became involved in an NGO called Sustaining the Wild Coast, which is trying to look at sustainable development options down here on the Wild Coast, and particularly how to bring benefits to local communities based on the amazing natural assets that they have here in Pondoland. So working with Sinegugu is an amazing experience. He's one of those individuals who can bridge or be a bridge between different cultures and different worldviews. He has an incredible knowledge of Pondoland and its ecology, but also the Pondo culture, the history of the area, right going back to pre-colonial areas. And his ability to sort of ground things in reality when people tend to get a bit excited about certain things. Sinegugu is able to bring different perspectives together in an amazing way and get people to really focus in on the issues, but also on the solutions. So he's an incredible guy to work with. His ability to, as I say, sort of bridge these worldviews and cultures and get people from different backgrounds with different expectations to work together. So we've spent hours and hours working through strategies of, you know, how different people see things, what would be meaningful to people in Pondoland in terms of the best of development as we know it, but without them having to lose their ties to their history and their culture and their background, and describing what is really important to people from this part of the world. So Sinegugu is his wealth of knowledge and his ability to deal with issues from a global to local perspective is quite fantastic.
Wow, Sinegugu, very, very choice words from Nick and Mzamo there. I mean, very good things they say about you. You're, of course, a very positive role model. What comes to mind when you watch your colleagues and what they have to say about you?
Wow, I can only say wow, because as I'm saying, you follow your instinct and do what you think is right, and you would never know what people think and how people perceive and how people see you. So it's a totally different lens, and it's really very fulfilling to listen and people saying all of that, things which they have observed about the work which we are doing on the ground. Because as I'm saying, for me, what I do what I think is normal, is what we do, but people would then perceive it as an extraordinary work.
Well, I can see that you are not only humbled yourself, you're a very humble individual. And speaking about following your instincts, I mean, for many years, I think over a decade, you were a geography teacher, and then you left that to focus on you know, becoming a conservationist. Do you think you'd ever go back to that, and how did that transition happen?
I think once a teacher, always a teacher.
Yeah.
And I do think must have been I was born a teacher. I spent good 13 years teaching geography from a rural school. I started near Kono at Mandela's birthplace for 2 years, and then I moved up to a township high school in Durban. And then I moved to an elite private school, Kesni, as they've mentioned. Yes. I authored more than 10 geography books, textbooks, whilst as teaching my last 8 years at Kesni. So Kesni, being a private school, again, developed me. I remember in 2004, I led a South African delegation to Geography Olympics in Poland. So it sort of developed me. And it got to a stage where it wasn't challenging me anymore.
Yes,
but when you look in terms of the pattern of work I was doing, because when I was for instance, when I started teaching, when I started qualifying at university, I started winter school program to sort of to uplift the rural kids. And then when I got to a private school at Kesni, then I would therefore, again, I would take the kids, because I was teaching in an elite private school, the kids who do not know what the rural life is like, to take them and expose them, but not only expose them, but also create opportunities for them to do community service and actually to take the white kids. Kesni was about 99% white. Take those white elite kids from rich families and take them to a poor community member who's very happy, who has nothing to complain about, and help them to make mud bricks. And then I got satisfied when I see these kids being very dirty, stamping mud and making them the mud bricks, so that they can learn and realize what life is all about. That those people, and see how happy, because those people, they used to laugh at these kids who come into a rural setting, they are trying to weed the crop. They come in and I help the people who are weeding the crops in the rural area. And how they get in there, and these kids, they cannot hold the hoe to weed the crop. And when you are weeding and removing the weeds around a mealy crop, for instance, you use the hoe and you put the soil around the thing. But these kids, they would literally walk around and facing all directions. Yes. And the people, you face one direction and you do everything, but you make your hoe do the work. And then for them to get there and see how stupid and unknowledgeable they can be, to actually realize that they can actually learn something from those people. And those people, as much as they are leading a tougher lifestyle, but they are not complaining, they are happy, and they are smiling and all that. For them to realize what life is all about, because when you are educated and you come from the poor rural areas, I think you are more privileged, because you know how to lead that particular life down there in that manner. When I'm down in rural areas with the people, the man walks around with a stick, and that's what I do. So the man walks barefooted. I kick off my shoes and take my stick and walk around and be part of it and speak the language. So I'm not going to be speaking English when I'm there. So being part of that community and understand. But then when I have to be placed in a Western setting, in a classroom, and have these kids and be able to teach. So that's why I'm saying, I think when you are somebody who has come from there and then you are educated, then you are able to live in two different worlds. You are in a really privileged position.
Yes.
You see, because somebody who grew up, was born in a city, battles
to understand that lifestyle.
Understand that lifestyle. But if you are somebody who is born there, but you are able, got educated, and you are able to live in both worlds.
My name is Chris Harrison. I'm a friend and colleague of Sinegugu Zukulu. Sinegugu is a fantastic person. I honestly don't think you could choose someone better for South African of the Year. He's a living example of the power of ordinary people to impact meaningfully on the big problems that we face as a country. He's, if anyone is an active citizen, Sinegugu is an active citizen. He really embodies the fact that history is constantly happening and that all of us are accomplices in it. Waiting for big solutions to be passed down from government is not just ineffective, it's counterproductive. And it makes all of us accomplices in the ongoing injustices all around us. I admire Sinegugu's energy. I don't know quite how he manages to get everything that he gets done. He's a fantastically dynamic person, and he seems to be involved in almost everything around here. The Tolobeni area is one of the most beautiful and well-preserved parts of the country. Endemic grasslands and river estuaries, all of that exists down here in a way that you won't find it elsewhere in the country. And preserving it is not just important for nature's sake, it's important for the people who live here. It's not just about the plants and the animals themselves, it's about the relationship that this community has to this land. And I admire the fact that Sinegugu is so committed to keeping and maintaining that, to keeping it going.
My name is Vuyani, surname is Mbuzwa. I grew up in Mcutwini village, in one of the places of Wild Coast. When I grew up, the first thing stuck on my head was to become a teacher. And from that career, in my area there was this kind of tourism happening in the Wild Coast. And I saw that as an alternative from being a teacher in a closed classroom to in an open classroom. So, and I felt more comfortable, like explaining things about nature, appreciating nature in an open area like Wild Coast. That's where I started.
Wow, to be described as more than a father by someone is quite touching. How does it make you feel? I'm sure it tugs at your heartstrings when you watch that.
It sends goosebumps out my throat. Yeah.
Wow, it is very touching. I mean, it's obvious that you have a knack for spotting talent, and you meet people and you build relationships and you're able to sustain them. Growing up, did you ever have heroes or role models or people you looked up to like that?
I think one I've never mentioned in my life was a professor, and I think professor came from Tanzania, Professor Ntuntufi Mwawenda, who was a lecturer at when I got to university, who was an educational psychologist, and I think we're using his book as a prescribed book. And in learning educational psychology, which I think I loved that because it sort of defined, it helped me to define who I am, my character and all that in understanding. And there was something said in the educational psychology about a functional adult, explaining what a functional adult is. In terms of where I am now, and I've always been able to say, when I'm faced with situation, and then to say, if therefore I'm a functional adult, how do I actually approach this particular situation? Yeah. So that has sort of helped me to define me. People think it's easy when you're doing an activist. Activist work is very stressful. You see, it's very, very difficult. And often for me, when I feel very stressed because of the work I'm doing, because you get insulted, you will not believe when I'm telling you that these guys who are pro-mining, they have paid a hitman 30,000 rands to eliminate me. And the only reason why they couldn't do that, because the hitman happened to be a driver for somebody who happens to be related to me. Somebody who has never even met me, but who knew that I belonged to that particular clan. And when he was told by the hitman that he is being paid 30,000 rands to kill me, this man looked for my cell phone number, spoke to people, and then called me. And I think I should give credit to Skosi Pibazwe Khadebe. And he called me, said, "What have you done to deserve to be killed?"
Yeah.
And, sorry.
It's okay. It is upsetting to hear when you do all of this good work, and this is how, you know, these are some of the things and challenges you have to face in life.
Yeah.
But I think what's also very commendable is the fact that you can be sitting here nominated for an award for the work that you do and still keep going. Not everybody can say that they're able to do that. How is it that you are able to still continue with this work when you know that your life could very well be in danger right now?
I just want to say, for instance, what makes it difficult is the fact that as much as we, in this battle, the pro-mining and the anti-mining, we are related. We are related because the guy, for instance, who paid that hitman is my cousin. We are coming from the same clan, the same family. And all I could do was to pick up a phone immediately after that and say, "My brother, I hear you have now hired a hitman to kill me." Of course, he denied it.
Yes.
But for me, that was enough, because I wanted him to know that I know that he wants to have me killed, because I am threatening his business venture, because they had established a big company to be the shareholders in the proposed mining. But I want to say, when you are an activist, you don't do that work because you enjoy doing that. You do that because it's worth doing it. You see, when you have, in a community, you have all the other educated people being pro-mining, and there you are as an educated person, you are anti, and people label you all sorts of things, say you are anti-development. It's not about that. It's about, I feel, if I were not to do the right thing and keep quiet like the other educated people and say nothing, I feel I need to follow what my heart tells me is right. The late Balasheleni was an old man from the Mtwa family. When he described, he said to me, they, as the people in the community, are like the people who are faced with a huge rock boulder that is rolling down from the hilltop, which is coming towards them, which is going to squash them. And then he said, help us stop this boulder, which is going to pin us down, to flatten us. And then he said, I'm giving you another quotation from the man. He's actually late. A few months back, we buried him.
Okay.
He said, government is treating them like birds. If a bird has got a nest in the wild and somebody starts fire, that fire, whether the bird had a nest with eggs or with babies, it will burn everything.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay. I can see how affected you are by the injustices that do happen, and how passionate you are about the cause, and how dear all of this is to your heart.
Yes,
and I have to ask you, I mean, you mentioned something just now. You said you would choose to do the right thing. And it seems like the obvious choice for the next human being, but not everybody would risk their lives and put their lives on the line to do the right thing. After being in the danger line once already, what makes you so strong, or what gives you the strength and the courage to put yourself out there once again and continue with this cause?
It's also one thing I haven't mentioned is to say, when I feel very, very stressed, all I have to do is very simple, is to go to the community meetings and listen to the elderly people. Yes. And that is the driving force. When you hear the people, elderly people saying they are prepared to die protecting their land, then what can you do? What else can you do is to keep on and support and work with those elderly people. So that's what motivates me, knowing that what I'm doing is making a difference in somebody's life. If what I'm doing brings joy to an elderly man who doesn't know where he would start if he were to contact a lawyer, if he were to talk to a journalist, where the only door they know is a traditional court in the community. And for me, because I know that I can do it, I can make the connections, I can pick up a phone, I can call somebody, I can call a social worker in Johannesburg to come and help us. I can pick up a phone and call the Human Rights Commission. I can. So it got to that stage where I had to be the first applicant to go to the High Court, Gauteng High Court, to open a case against government to say what they are doing by not listening to what the people are saying is wrong.
Yes.
You see, so the courage is out of that, and then you dedicate to say, if they kill me, that's fine, but at least I will die fighting a good cause on behalf of these people. And there is no greater motivation than that, because you know you are doing the right thing and you are raising the voices of those poor people within the communities.
That's a very, very profound statement, and I must say that it is very refreshing and inspiring to sit across from you and just to listen to someone, you know, who really is doing the right thing and choosing to do the right thing, irrespective of the consequences on their own lives, and not just doing it for affirmation from others. And with that said, there are other people who really do take their hats off to the work that you do, and that's Margie and Zinzele. So let's take a look at what they have to say about you.
My name is Margie Pretorius, and I first met Sinegugu about 3 years ago when a friend organised a week-long hike of the Ponderland coast from Port Edward to Port St John's, and Sinegugu was our guide and kept us interested and entertained with stories along the way of the history, the social systems, the plants, the animals, all the stories of Ponderland. I think we hike because we love walking, and we love walking outdoors in nature where it's quiet, it's peaceful, and we love to walk in places where the environment hasn't been spoilt by human impact.
You can see the black stuff. See the black stuff. So that's the mineral which they are aiming for, which they want to mine here. So they want, and when you take out that black stuff, then you are left with dust, because that's a heavy mineral. So the heavy mineral keeps the soil down. So once you sieve and take that out, then the dust is going to be, whenever there's little wind, the dust will be flying all over the place. So that mineral is what supports the plant growth. All the green you see around here is supported mainly. The soil scientists that we employed and asked them to do research, they found that that mineral is essential for the plant growth. So you remove that mineral, you cannot rehabilitate this soil. So the soil will be the dust that people will be left with.
Well, it's basically an issue of mining for titanium along the 22-kilometre stretch of coast from Port Edward to M10 and that would really destroy this beautiful unspoilt environment. But more than that, it would destroy the homes, the livelihood, the agriculture that people treasure in this place. He's very much a people person. He's always engaging with people. He's a deep lover of nature. I heard a story once about how he used to come home when he was a little boy with bunches of flowers for his children, for his mother. So it sounds like that love of nature goes way, way back. But I think he strikes me as somebody who engages deeply with the people around him and his community. And I think the thing that stands out most for me about Sinegugu is the way in which he tries to open up opportunities for other people. I've got to know two of the young men that he's mentored, and he facilitated the opportunity for them to be trained as tracker guides. So they now work as tracker guides for the Wilderness Leadership School, mainly up in the Hluhluwe-Umfolozi area. But they've also set up their own company guiding trails down here on the Ponderland Wild Coast. And I think they are where they are largely because of the opportunities that Sinegugu opened up for them. I feel like there's a lot that he does that I don't know about because he just seems to be involved in so many things. But I think it's really about protecting the environment, but also what the environment means to and makes possible for communities of people. So he really honors the link between people and the natural environment and the way in which those two go together. We can't live without the environment. Nature can survive without us. We can't survive without nature. What do I wish for him? I think many more years of seeing some of the seeds that he has planted come to fruition in the lives of individuals and communities. And I think most of all, a moratorium on the mining, because so much energy has been put into fighting against this mining, and we need to be putting that energy into fighting for the improvement of people's lives and the joy that comes from people enjoying this unspoiled part of South Africa.
Yeah. Tell me about your love for flowers and for nature. Where did it start?
I really have no collection. I think my mother would be the best person to answer the question, is because you see the stories of childhood that my mother tells me, those are the things that I have no way of remembering because I was very young. But my mother tells me that I was breastfeeding till I was close to 2 years. So, and then as the boys were letting the livestock, driving the sheep and the cattle to the veld, the first day I went with the boys. And then when I came back in the afternoon, so I came back with one pretty flower, and then I started dragging a blanket, and then I gave my mother the flower as a bribe to breastfeed.
Yes.
And then I covered her with the blanket so that people cannot see me that I was cycling. And then she says, after that, every day the bunch of flowers grew bigger and bigger and bigger. So to use. And only a few weeks ago, she told me how I went into trouble into this. We have a plant we call ubobo, which is Mauritius thorn. It has got terrible thorns. And she said, I went in it. And then just to get, because I saw a yellow flower there, and its flowers are beautiful and yellow and long, just to get to the flower, to unplug the flower. So in the process, so I got lots of scratches, so there was blood all over. And then I came to her crying because the thorns were very painful, to give her the flower. And she scolded me and saying, why do I do all the dangerous things to get this stupid flower and all that? And when she was telling me, and she was reminded of that story because she was actually listening to a radio station, a story which was being told about a blind boy who actually had a flower, who was giving this flower to this lady. This lady was sitting on a bench in a park, and the lady was busy. And she didn't notice that the boy was blind. And then when the boy kept on insisting, the lady was saying, no, thank you, thank you. And then when she looked, the boy was actually blind. So my mother was listening and hearing this story. Then she remembered this story about how I went to trouble. Then she started crying. It's all her fault.
I think it's safe to
all
say
her fault that I cry.
You use flowers to get
yes.
what you want. It wouldn't be premature to say that you have definitely succeeded and will definitely succeed in leaving your legacy or your part towards this contribution and objective. What do you do to relax?
I hike the wild coast.
Oh, of course, so, I should have guessed.
Yes. Yeah, that's all I do. Whenever, and my boss Sarah Fraser knows when yes. when I take a leave for a week long, so I walk for 5 days, just walk and walk and walk. And when I walk, I don't want to walk alone. Yes. I want people to come walking with me. So I organized, that's all I do. Like when I arrived here, for instance, I had a message coming from my cousin, Lula Mazuli, here asking me, when is the next hike in December? What are the dates? Because they know that every December I take about a week, at least 5 to 6 days of just walking the wild coast.
Just chatting to you, I think we can ascertain that you are someone who values relationships. It is very important to you, and you are able to sustain very long ones. So we chatted to 2 of your friends who you grew up with, and they shared their experiences with you. Let's take a look.
My name is Zukulu Sabane. My nickname is Govi. Others they call me Opa. I'm here in Amatiba administrative area. Sinegugu, as a boy, he was a boy that was very interesting in development. For instance, as we were schooling, he was coming from Ekobotweni. There's a river which is called Ekobotweni. And he used to stay across Mnyameni River. And those rivers, when it was raining, they become very floods. But because the parents, they know him that he likes things that are very good, he used to call them, assisting them for the learners to cross the river. You can't believe that he advised them to make a ladder in these two rivers, Nyamen and Kobodwe, so that the learners can cross if it is flooding, so that they must reach the school. He was not playing the ball. He was watching us when we were doing things. So he was very good. He was playing when he was young with other boys. And he was used to fall down because he was not kicking the ball nicely. He was unable to dribble other people. He was just running.
If you could think of one thing you would like to change in South Africa, just one thing, what would it be?
Respecting the views of the ordinary people and listening to those people. For the government to listen to the people, because people have something to say. They know what they want.
Yes.
If we're to listen and make sure that if we are talking development, we develop the people in terms of their own aspiration. We don't come with cooked meals to offer them, but listen to the people.
I like that. It's simple yet powerful. Listen.